Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I am comedian Nazareth, and thank you for joining me for this episode 237. My guest was going to make you laugh, it's going to make you excited, it's going to make you joyful, and it's going to make you have just this joyful look at life today. She's a best selling author, and we're just going to have a great time. So join us, tell your friends to join us right now, and we'll have a great time.
Welcome to Laughter for All. It's the podcast with comedian Nazareth.
Again, hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I'm Nazareth. I'm back in town, and I'm done for a week or so from traveling. So it's been good. I was in Alamosa, Colorado, and it was cold. It was no oxygen. I suffered for a few, what do you call it, for about a the day I was there, the 24 hours I was there, I was suffering from lack of oxygen. And I want to encourage you people, if you're from California, or from like, what do we call it, sea level people, if you're a sea level person, you know who you are. You're breathing, you're getting all the oxygen you can get in your, there's a lot of oxygen, you're fine. But when you start going up to Colorado and this high mountain stuff, I always, when I get there, the minute I hit the airport in this city like Colorado, I will drive to the first sporting goods store like Dick's Sporting Goods or Big Five, and I buy that Boost oxygen cylinder. You need it. You need it that night because when you go to bed, and you like wake up in the middle of the night going, I'm having a heart attack. Don't call 911. Put that oxygen and just breathe it, and you'll feel good. And drink a lot of water. That's my advice. All right. What's going on this week? The only thing I have this Sunday is just I'm covering for a pastor at a church in Oceanside, California. Next Chapter Church. I'll be speaking there this Sunday. After that, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in Florence, Oregon for the men's conference. But anyway, enough of that. Okay, yesterday I got a note from a publicist, and she was telling me about her client, and I didn't know that person, and my bad, because she has so many followers all over on social media. Her name is Melissa Radke. I hope I didn't ruin, but I'm a foreigner. English is second language. Everything I mess up, so I can't be apologizing. But Radke, I would go with Radke for now until she corrects me. Is a best-selling author, speaker, and television personality who has charmed audiences worldwide with her hilarious and candid insights on life, love, and the complexities of the modern world. Known as the HGIC, the head girlfriend in charge. Melissa has been cheering women since 2016 and sharing tips on what to buy, what to wear, how to laugh, and do your hair with her online community for over 1.1 million followers, probably more by now. Originally from East Texas, Melissa spent over 15 years in Nashville, Tennessee, having graduated from Belmont University with a bachelor's degree in commercial music performance. With a love of writing about real life parenting and the importance of learning our identity, Melissa published her national best-selling book, Eat Cake, Be Brave, in 2018, released by Grand Central Publishing Hatchet Book Group. She was also the star of the family-friendly TV show, The Radkes, on the USA Network. The show was an unscripted sitcom that focused on her big, loud Southern family and all of their charm. A mom of two and a wife of one, Melissa embodies the perfect Southern blend of sweet tea and hairspray. She married her college sweetheart, David, in 94. Melissa, David, and their teenage children, Remy and Rocco, live in the small East Texas town where she was born and raised, Lufkin, Texas. Please welcome, oh, from Lufkin, Texas, originally, Melissa Radke. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, hello. Good to
Na-
see you.
Did I say it right? Is it Radke?
It is you did exactly right. Yes.
Now, I love this about you because my daughter right now is going to Belmont Law School for music. Music law.
Really?
Yes. So
Wow. So she's in Nashville.
She is in Nashville right now, and my son. Oh, they both moved to Nashville in August. My son works for Zach Bryan, the country singer.
You
So,
are kidding.
yeah,
What
he
does
does.
your daughter think about Belmont?
She loves it. She
Does
loved
she?
it more. She was gonna go to the other one, the older, more, the one next to it. What's the name of it?
Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt.
Uh-huh.
But she didn't like Vanderbilt. She goes, "Dad, it was too like too constipated for her." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she likes Belmont. She loves it.
We went to Vanderbilt. So my daughter is a senior this year. So we've been doing our college tours, right? Going
Yeah.
around looking at colleges. We went to Vanderbilt. And honestly, no shade on Vanderbilt. I just looked at all of those kids and I said, Remy, these kids look like they do not have a life. They don't have a life. They just study. And Remy was like, I'm out of here. I can't do this.
So
So,
Belmont.
well, she's not going to go to Belmont because I'm sorry. What do you do for a living, sir, that you can afford Belmont? It has gotten so expensive. It is so expensive.
It
But
is.
you're world famous, so that's why you can.
Not really. She is taking loans too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
here's the deal. Our thing with Remy is I want you to go I don't wanna pay for you to go to a school that offers you nothing. You're just going to it because it's popular, right?
Mm,
Or because it's fancy or because it's acclaimed. I want you to go to a school that makes sense for you. And so she has chosen a school. She's very excited about it. Belmont is so good, especially musically. It's so good for people who are interested in music or the arts. And
right.
Remy just wasn't. And so why pay that? Do you agree? What do you think?
Exactly. I agree with you. And I was gonna pay for my daughter's school, and my wife said, you wanna put your money for retirement and
Right.
let the girl, because she's gonna be a lawyer, she's gonna make money
Oh, she'll be
eventually
fine.
and pay it off. So, but you know what? I've never pushed my kids to do whatever. Like my son is a film director. I've
Yeah.
never pushed him. My daughter wanted to do and law. She wanted to do like music law. She likes music.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
for it. My little one, the last vulture in the nest, is still. She wants to be a Broadway actress, and that's where I'm going. I should have never told her to do what she wants, but I don't know if there's no money. Is there money in Broadway actresses? Like,
Hey, for some of them, hey,
for,
I'm gonna tell you something. Kristen Chenoweth, she ain't poor. Let's just
let's
call a
see.
spade a spade. She ain't poor. Okay.
So tell me, I'm gonna start with something crazy. You are funny naturally. I
Mhm.
watched you. I watched the little bit I watched. You're funny naturally. How do you translate that into writing and get a best-selling book?
I don't actually, you know what? It's funny. When I started writing, so I started writing in high school, and my high school teachers noticed, oh, she's got a talent for writing. Like she can write. So I grew up writing, but not until I got a publisher and I was writing a book and I turned it in for edits, did my publisher go, "Oh no, she writes just like she talks." Like even my sentences are kind of short and
Mm,
there's lots of periods. And I start a lot of sentences with the word and you're not supposed to do that.
right.
So I have what I have done is it literally, when you read my books, you can hear my voice. I'm not a fancy writer. I just write like I talk and it translates. I don't
Mm.
know how. Ask God. I don't know how he does it. But that's what.
It
That's what I do.
translates, and people tell you, "Oh, it was funny." They get the joke because it's different when you're on stage telling
Right.
a funny story or a joke to when you write it down.
Yes. But usually what I will do is I will have told that story. You know this. I will have told that material on stage so much that I know what works and what doesn't. So I know what to put in that story in the book. I know what to do. I know. Plus, as my parents tell me, I am naturally an exaggerator and I'm naturally very overly dramatic. So it just translates into words. What can I say?
But isn't that part of being a performer?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when I tell my kids a story, they're like, yeah, I always like make it like a Hollywood story, just naturally, and they're like, Is it? Did it really happen like that?" I go close, close, just close enough."
Yeah, you'll see there's a line right in the very first part of my book, or maybe it's on the back in the description, but it says, "These are the mostly true stories of my growing up. And you have to put that word in there because do I embellish? Of course, I'm a comedian. You know about that.
Right. It wasn't. I'm like, it wasn't a tiger. It was a poodle. But I mean, same thing. It was an animal that attacked me. It wasn't. It was.
Exactly.
But so tell me, have you done stand up? Like you went with the goal of going on stage to do just comedy?
No, I have not. In
Why
fact,
not?
so this. Well, so my husband wants me to so bad. Like he drives me nuts about it. He's like, let's go to Houston. We'll go to Dallas. We'll find some open mic nights and we'll get you up there. Okay. I have been excited about coming on here and talking to you since I found out 24 hours ago that I was doing this because I want to know about the very first time you walked up on a stage for an open mic. You said there were 9 drunks in the whole room. I want to know what led you to do that, what gave you the nerve and the gumption to do that. I would be terrified. So tell me about it.
I don't think you personally would be terrified, but I'll tell you. And I know I'm interviewing you, not you interviewing me. But I think it was a few days before I ran a marathon that I never thought I would ever be able to run more than 2 miles, and I ran 26.2. And in that moment, I asked myself, what do I want to do in life? That
Mhm,
if I don't get paid for it, I will still do it. That's like would be something I love to do the rest of my life. I was making people laugh, not
mhm,
being funny or people thinking I'm funny. I wanted to make people laugh. So that day, 2 days ago later, I went to I think the LA Cabaret in LA, and I signed up for an open mic night. And it took me, from 7 o'clock, it was 300 people in the audience. By the time I went on stage, it was midnight with 9 drunks, and they give you 3 minutes, and 2 minutes all I was able to get like 2.5 minutes of stuff that when people like, in real life, people ask you a question, oh, I like your hair, and you throw something funny.
yeah,
Oh, you're from the Middle East. Yeah, I go, yeah, we have a two-story tent with a two-camel garage, stuff like that, silly stuff.
okay,
And that's the stuff I took to stage. And I was nervous. My stomach was killing me. I was like, I'm looking at the light. I'm like, please give me the light. Please give me the light. I've been on stage forever. It was only 2.5 minutes.
oh,
But they were laughing, and some of them fell off their chair laughing. And I'm like, I knew that was it. After that moment, the next show was easier. But
uh-huh.
then for the first year, you start like, it's like going to a job interview every single day.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're applying for a job every single time. You don't know if they're gonna like you or not, if you're gonna do good or not, if you're gonna, they can relate to you or not. So,
But
but
don't you
you,
think that's a young man's game? Could you do that now at your age? Could you do that now?
you're interviewing me.
I'm
This is
sorry,
I
but I'm
used to
really
have you on
curious.
your, but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, would I do it now? I don't know. It's just like the testosterone levels go down after a while, or that that
Yeah,
excitement, and that's naturally, I think if I have the same that excitement I had when I was 20 something, I mean, my life would be a mess right now.
yeah, right,
Like I want to
exactly.
go, oh, honey, let me go try this. No, but would I do it if I put my mind on it? Yes, I can do it. And but you already have the experience, you
Mhm.
already have the material, you already have the personality. So I'm not asking if you should go to a comedy club and just try it. But I always tell people, I mean, I the Christian comedy, or the comedy for the faith-based market, was not heard of in California. And so
Yeah,
when I became a Christian and I left Hollywood, I started doing that in California. So always encourage people, hey, there's enough churches, enough women's event, enough events going on retreats that you can do a full stand-up show
mhm.
without having to step into a comedy club. I only do clubs, like I headline comedy clubs 2, 3 times a year,
Oh,
just for
wow.
my own ego, just for my own ego to feel,
Okay, okay.
to feel okay. I still got it.
I
I'm
feel
still
good.
not being. I'm not doing Noah joke and Adam and Eve jokes. I'm actually relating to the world out there.
Sure.
But yeah, you can go up. I mean, you speak a lot at women's event, correct?
I do, yeah, I do.
Okay, so you already have the jokes and you already have the stories and stuff, so it will not change anything for your career. But
Uh-huh.
Just go to a comedy club once and just.
I'm gonna have to, just so I can say I tried, just so I will know what that feeling is. I want to know what that feeling is. But I will agree with you that, okay, first of all, you said the testosterone. Well, for me, I'm like in menopause now. So I'm like, I don't got time for people to not like me. I can only walk in rooms at this point in my life where I know people are gonna like me. Okay. But also, I don't know. I love to make people laugh. Doesn't it just bring you such
Oh,
joy?
that's it's a drug. It's an addiction. It's an
It
addiction.
is.
I can't. I just want to go on stage and I want. And sometimes like if I don't do shows for a week or two,
Mhm.
my wife and kids will notice.
Oh,
That is a
really?
little. Yeah, that is a little kind of not depressed, but he's down. He feels something is. Probably David, your husband's the same way. If you're not feeling you're producing,
Uh-huh.
or you're doing what you're called to
Mhm,
do, there's
mhm.
something that brings you down. So I go on, boom, the laughing, standing ovation. You come home. Hi, honey. What do you want? I
Exactly,
can
yeah.
clean the garage if you want me to, but
Uh-huh.
it's the same thing. So yeah, we both. Now you said something really good. You said at this age, I don't feel like I have to pay my dues again, and that's
Right.
what you were saying. And you're right. We don't
Yeah.
have to pay dues again
Mhm.
because we already did. And so, but you do. I can tell you right now, you are funnier than a lot of women who are already doing stand up comedy. You're funnier. Your timing. I was just listening to your timing, just great. So, how long it takes you to write a book?
Oh, geez. Well, I've written 2 so far. The first one took me about, 6 months. This one actually took me a little longer. The reason is because the first book I went off. I had to leave my family. I had smaller children at the time and I had to get out of the house. So I was able to really knock it out about 6 months. This one took me about 9 months. I didn't leave the house. And so I get sidetracked, squirrel kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it took me a little bit longer. But that said, this book in particular, the one I'm about to release, it flowed out of me easier. It flowed out of me easier because it really is life stories of me growing up in a loud, obnoxious Southern family and all of the hilarity that comes with that, you know?
So when you say, okay, I sat home, how many hours a day did you write?
I would try to I try to give at a minimum 2, at the most 4. I'm not going to give you any more than that. I'm not going to give you any more than 4 hours of my time for any project, but I
Hmm.
can't sit still longer than that. So if I dedicate, about 4 hours a day to it on and off, I write better at night. I write better early in the morning and at night. The afternoon is, I don't know what
Yeah.
it's for, but it ain't for
Yeah.
work. I can
For
tell you
kids.
that.
It's for kids.
So, but that's what I would do. Look, if there's one thing I'm not, it's discipline. Okay. If there's one thing I'm not, it's discipline. And I have a job, probably much like yours, that allows me to just kind of do as I want, when I want. These women who are like, who was it? Maya Angelou or somebody like that who's like, I go to my cabin and I shut the door and I write for 12 hours while God just pours into me. I'm like, well, then you must be his favorite because that is not how it works
I'd
here.
rather be at the Department of Correction.
I'd
12
rather be
hours.
getting a root canal.
Oh
Um,
my Lord, 12 hours writing 12 hours. I don't have I'm ADD.
Me too.
Yeah, you have to be a performer.
Oh, yeah. So I can't sit still that long. So I just kind of, whenever the mood hits me, and honestly, I would get little pockets of inspiration and something would just come to me when I was driving. So I would make sure when I got home, I'd run in there to my desk and I'd spend an hour or two just getting that story out, getting it out, getting it out. And that's just how it happens for me. It ain't glamorous, it ain't fancy, but it gets the job done. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let's talk about menopause and the
Oh
sweats and all
gosh, let's
that.
don't say
Just
we did.
how how does that impact when you go on stage and you go, I don't feel like, or I
Yes.
don't feel like, maybe I don't have it anymore. Maybe am I getting older and stuff like that. Do women go through that too?
Yes. Yes. Okay. First of all, you have a wife. Why don't you ask her? She'll probably chew you out for asking her any questions about
That's why
menopause.
I'm asking you. It's safer when there's a screen in between us.
Yeah. It has affected me in a way that I never saw coming. It has
Mm,
affected me in a way I never saw coming. I mean that in some good ways and some bad ways. For instance, for those of women who may be listening, what's up with the hot flashes? Because it just really chaps my hide. Can I say that? It just makes me mad. I mean, if I okay, I ate lunch topless today. Okay? I just
okay.
did. I ate
Yeah.
lunch. I took this sweater off, this
What
adorable sweater,
restaurant were you at?
Chili's. Um,
Chile. Okay. Whew.
I,
It's
I
okay.
I was fixing my lunch. I was all dolled up for you. Had a hot flash. Could I turn on a fan? Sure, but I'd rather just strip my clothes off. Ate topless. I ate my chicken salad topless. Get over it.
Thank you for sharing.
It that is how I feel. It instantly makes me mad. I get very lethargic. I'm very tired all the time. But then there's also another thing that's happened, and this is the good side.
Okay.
There is a part of me that is more settled into who I am. Nazareth, I used to want to be so much more than who I am, so much more
Oh,
famous, so much wealthier, so much more well known, so much more renowned.
preach
And
it, sister. Preach it. Preach it.
I am really secure and happy and confident and settled into this skin and this body of mine. And I give menopause credit for that. I give God credit for that.
Of
If I
course.
can if I can be honest, I give
Yes.
my faith. I'm deeper in my faith, and because of that, it has settled me and matured me in a really beautiful way.
That is amazing. That's yeah. I mean, think the way you verbalize it is so true, and it's just it is. And I mean, on my side, I don't get sweats, but I'm telling, I give the Lord that, like, I've always wanted to be more famous, more this, more money, more career, more this, more, and you get to a level you go, you know what? I'm very satisfied where I'm at. Also, on the other side, like you feel, even it's like the whole hormone for a few seconds. Their whole body is just like chemically
Mhm.
changed, and then I go, honey, are you okay? She goes, yes, now I'm okay. But
Yeah.
tell me, you the reason I asked you, because you speak to women and you're always giving women advice on parenting, on
Uh-huh.
hair, on stuff. Talk to me about parenting right now, but teenagers. I have a 17-year-old still in the nest, and
Is that your
what do you,
last vulture?
that's my last vulture. And
Okay. Okay.
so what do you think? What is your advice for?
It's funny. I have one of my best friends. She's raised 3 daughters, and she told me the other day, I called her and I was like, okay, my daughter is 18, my son is 16. I'm freaking out about something that my daughter was doing. And she said, Melissa, a million books have been written on parenting children, and like zero have been written on parenting adult children. She said it's a whole different ballgame. And don't you find that to be true?
Yes. Yes.
Whoa! It is a whole different ballgame. And today is the first day of my entire life that I am parenting a 16 and an 18-year-old in this day, in this moment, for whatever it is. They're going to come home from school in a minute. They're going to pull up in my driveway. And today will be the first day I parent in the situation that they bring to me. So I just have to remember that every day is a first for me. Every
Mm,
day every single day I'm new at this, because something new will arise every single day. And so if they will have the grace for me and I will have the grace for them, it'll all work out, right? But then
right.
again, I was also the mom who carried a spanking spoon, a wooden spoon in my purse for like the first 14 years of their lives. So I'm not perfect at it, and they're not perfect by any means, but there's a lot of grace that floats around our house. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, and you're right. I have two adult kids, and I think when you're parenting adult kids, when you're parenting kids, you like you have the authority and you have the experience and you have the wisdom. When they're adult kids, you start questioning, like, is what I know gonna apply to their situation in this
Yeah.
new? generation that they're living in. So
Or
yes.
or is what I know enough? Is what I
Mm,
know enough? Is it enough to have taught them? I mean, I'm about to release an 18-year-old into the world, and between me and you, she might be an idiot. I'm not sure, okay? I don't know. She might be an idiot because she's first of all, she's just like her mother. And so all the time I'm like, are you, and you have to know for any of those of you listening and you're like, oh, she said idiot, you're clutching your pearls. That is a term of affection
yes.
around our house. I
Yes.
mean, if I
Yes.
say you're such an idiot, they're like, oh, mom loves me.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. I don't know if I have known enough, if I have taught her enough. But here's what I figure. There are really only a couple of things that I really need to make sure she knows before she walks out the door. One is her relationship with Christ. That's number one.
That's number
Number
one.
two is confidence in herself. And maybe number three is like how to call AAA if something happens on the side of the road. Those are like the biggest things. I mean, everything else is just, she'll figure it out. I just have to keep reassuring myself of that.
Well, let
This
me
is
ask you,
where you
Melissa.
come in and say, yes, Melissa, you're right.
You know what? I did not teach my kids AAA because they call me, Dad, my car is broke down on the side. I'm like, get that card I gave you and call
Yeah.
the number in the back. But you're right. But when we were 18, we were stupid too.
Uh,
I mean, that's term of affection. And
mhm.
until they turn 25, don't count on them making smart decisions.
25?
Yes.
I
That's
got to
one.
wait till 25?
God will make you wait till 25 because I'll tell you what, my son, the minute he turned 25, before that he thought, I don't know anything. Like he's like, oh, Dad, I don't want to hear it. And at 25, he would call me. And now today he's 26. He calls me every day. He's working out. He's reading the Bible. Like
Uh-huh.
I was like, is this the right number? Is this John Riscala? Like, he goes, yeah, Dad, that's me. What happened? I think
Really?
the whole, like, the amygdala or the frontal, you know,
The frontal
hippocampus.
cortex and
Yeah,
all that.
it's completed, and they're smart. Now, my daughter, who's studying law, she's wiser, but she's still, she's wise in education, but sometimes she makes like decisions that her mom's like,
Right. But not right here. Yeah.
but you
Okay,
know
I
what?
wanna
We
ask you
survived.
something.
Ask me.
Okay. Well, give me advice on this. Did you feel like when your daughter, your son, when they were 18, you were about to release them into the world, had they had they really gotten spiritually mature? Because that's what I'm not seeing that in my daughter, and I feel like I see it in other kids her age, but then I talk to moms and they're like, no, you don't. No, you don't see that in my child. I don't know what you think you see, but you don't. So I'm wanting her to be as spiritually grown up as I am now, but I'm 50, so that's not really fair to her.
It's not fair, but that's a great question. My answer to this is the infrastructure solid, and that's all you care about. Because I have
Ooh,
three kids, the infrastructure is solid. They know Jesus, they know who Christ is, they know what to do. All these years that you held that wooden stick, it doesn't go to waste. It's like,
yeah,
hey, you know what? Dress modestly. This is how you talk to people. This is,
right.
this is who Jesus is. This
Mhm,
is what we believe. This is the Bible is true. They all believe that. Now I have two different. I have a daughter who's solid, that I was okay for her to go to UCLA, and it's the most liberal school in the country.
mhm,
And when she finished, she had 16 girls in her Bible study that never in her apartment that never go to church. So she's solid. Now my son, when he finished high school, he wasn't ready, so I sent him to Biola Christian School,
mhm,
and now he's not where I was like, oh, he's the Billy Graham of his,
mhm.
but he's not. But he knows what's right and what's wrong, and he knows that no, no, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and I'm
Yeah.
not, and when they say something wrong about Christianity, he's like, no, 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 Jesus is real.
The
He's
infrastructure.
the
I
infrastructure.
love that. The infrastructure. Is the infrastructure there? It's like a house when they say a house has good bones. You've
Right.
heard that? This house has good foundation, good bones. Have you given them good bones? Have you given them that's very good. Look at
And you
you.
got it. Yeah.
That's
Let
very
me
good.
ask you this. When did you first notice, or when did people notice first? You're funny, Melissa.
Uh, Pretty early on, my parents are both very funny people.
Oh, both. Okay.
But both of my parents are funny, definitely in different ways. But I was an only child, and
Okay.
I came from a very musical family, very musical. And so from a very early age, I was propped up on the stage. Sing, Melissa, move, Melissa, do a little jig, Melissa.
Uh,
And I had that showmanship from a pretty early age. And so yeah, I got and I think too, being an only child, I didn't spend a lot of time around kids.
mm.
Um, I mean, I did as I got a little older and had friends over, but I mean, I was around adults a lot. And so I learned quick humor. I learned sarcasm, which has not been always to my benefit. I've had to rein that in a lot in my life, but I learned how to be sharp. I learned how to think fast on my feet. I think that's because I hung around adults a lot.
Right. And what do you call it? So both, and that's what happens. See, for me and my wife are both funny in different
Yeah.
ways. So our kids do like that. They've been on stage since they were 2 or 3, and they do that. So you okay? Did you see, like, right now? Where you at right now? Did you see yourself that past when you were like 18? Like, did you see yourself to be where you at right now, or was it much higher or different, or a different career or a different?
Yeah, I saw myself being in a completely different career. I really thought I would grow up to be a musician. I thought I would grow up to be a vocalist.
Mm,
I thought I would be singing, have albums out. You know, that's what I thought I would be doing. And that is a really big part of my story. That's in the first book. I write about it a lot. But I moved to Nashville, and I lived in Nashville for 15 or 16 years. And I went to Belmont, and I studied commercial music performance. I minored in jazz and blues music,
mm.
and I saw myself moving to LA. I'm sorry, no, I didn't. Moving to New York, singing in jazz clubs, and I really loved the showmanship, the acting slash singing of like a Bette Midler. That's what I saw myself doing.
Okay.
But this was before, you have to understand, I was in Nashville singing before the Adeles came along, or the Lizzos, the plus size women in these bigger bodies before they became popular. And so Nashville loved the way I sounded, but Nashville did not like the way I looked.
Mm.
And for anyone who is listening to this today, or you're cleaning your kitchen and you've got this on, I want you to stop and listen to me. If you are a woman who has never, or man, it could be anybody, who
Right.
has never really felt like you have felt like your body holds you back, because that's what it felt like for me for many, many years. That's why a minute ago, when I told you one of the things menopause has done for me is it has settled me into my skin. I love the body I'm in. I fit into the body I'm in. But for many years in Nashville, I was told the body I was in was not good. I had a producer actually tell me one time I had been hired to come in and sing backup for a country artist, and I was in the studio and I was singing. When I was done, I went to go leave, and the producer and the country artist were sitting there, and the producer said, "Dang, Melissa." Actually, he didn't say dang, but he said, "Dang, Melissa, you sure can sing." And he said, it's just sad, people don't buy ugly." And that's what he said, and that was based off of my body. I was a larger woman. And this was in the era of the Carrie Underwoods, the
Yeah.
Faith Hills, the really small, and I didn't fit that mold. And so I had a lot of heartbreak in Nashville. Nashville broke my heart over and over and over. And so I I gave up on a dream, and I thought God had made a mistake. Why would you place dreams in my heart but then put me in a body like this? It
Mm.
almost felt like God had played some colossal joke, and I was the punchline.
But why do you think it was God when God thought you're beautiful the way He created you?
Well, because
It was the world.
absolutely nothing in our culture teaches us that. And that you just said, I had to learn on my own or through discipleship. A woman, a sweet little German woman in my church discipled me and taught me the value of who I was and who I was in Christ.
Hmm.
But unless you uh, are intentional about learning those things, you'll never learn them through our culture. You'll never learn that out in the world. The world will never tell you that you are enough exactly like you are. You will still feel inept. And I don't care that we live in this body positive, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean worth positive. It
Okay. Talk to me. Tell me more about this. I'm interested to hear that. What do you mean the difference? I mean, now because I feel Hollywood now is accepting everybody. The way just the way you are is fine. Whoever you are, you're fine. So, what are
Mhm.
you saying? It's the worth part.
Here's what I have found. Because scripture tells us that the world looks at the outside, but God looks at the heart.
Hmm.
Proof of that is Hollywood and culture and television and magazines. They are looking at the outside of women and they are saying, now plus size is fine. Wear that bikini, girl. You look great. You can wear anything. You can look like this. You can be a model at this. And all that's great. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
But who is she in here? Have you just told her that her outside is good enough? Who is she in here?
Mm.
Are we investing in women? Because what happens when that plus size woman is 23 years old and she's showing off her body and the world is telling her body looks great and she's happy, but one day she turns 46 and her body doesn't quite look the same and nobody has invested in the heart.
Mm.
I want to change women's heart. I want to, no matter the body they're in. That's what it means to me. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. I want you to talk right now to single women who felt the clock has ticked and gone, or to widows who felt I wasn't planning on life being that way alone. Talk to them a little because you're an encourager to women.
That is difficult. And I truly, desperately feel for you ladies who I'll talk first of all to the women who say, I've been married or I've been divorced. I've wanted to have children. I've wanted a house full of noise and laughter, and here I've not been able to do that. Um, Part of my story is that I married my college sweetheart. We were married, and soon after started trying to have children. We went through 12 years of
Mm.
unexplained infertility. And in case you don't know, unexplained infertility is literally just that. It's doctors going, "Oh, I got no idea. We've tried everything. We've tried shots and surgeries and pills and temperatures and charts, and we just don't know." And it's very hopeless feeling because your body, the one you're already not sure you're even a fan of, now can't do what every other woman's body can do.
Okay.
And so that is a very lonely feeling. Throughout those 12 years, I got pregnant 5 times in 12 years and I lost every single one of them. I
Mm.
lost every single pregnancy. It was almost like my body, it took a long time to get pregnant and then it couldn't hold on to the pregnancy. Finally, we got pregnant and finally made it to about 7 months. And he came early. Our son came early. In fact, he came 2 months early. He came on Christmas morning of
What a
2005.
gift.
At Christmas morning of 2005, came 2 months early and passed away an hour and a half later.
Oh, my Lord.
You talk about a uh, an absolutely devastating feeling. But now let me talk to the women who want children, or the widows who their home is quiet. Ladies, when I tell you that his ways are not your ways, his thoughts are not your thoughts, that his are higher than the heavens above, I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. If you can just throw off throw it off, what you thought it was supposed to look like, what you wanted it to be like, what you thought your wedding was going to be, the kind of guy you thought you were going to marry. Throw off everything you journaled about when you were a little girl. Throw off every fantasy and storybook ending that you thought you were going to have. If you can just get rid of it and live palms up, surrendering to his plan, I promise you, you will find fulfillment in that plan. His plan, though it is not pain free, can be more than you ever expected. But we have to throw off what we thought it was going to be like. I can assure you, I never saw 12 years of infertility. I never saw 5 miscarriages. I never saw holding a baby that looked like me, had hair like his daddy's, and handing him back to a doctor after an hour and a half so they could take him from the room. I never saw that. That was never how I planned it when I was young.
Mm.
But I have learned that living with palms up in this attitude of surrender does more for me than living with my palms gripped and how I think it should be, how I thought it was going to be, or what I wanted it to look like.
Mm. That's
This
amazing.
is this is how we live. This is how we live.
You're a preacher. How did you come to know Christ, Melissa?
I was raised in the church. I don't have any sad story of how the church hurt me or the church wounded me. I have only seen the church be a hospital for the broken. And I really meet so many women in the line of work that I'm in
Mm.
who have horror stories sometimes, just horror stories of
Mm.
what the church has done to them or how it's hurt them or how people in leadership have abused their power. And I'm so grateful and honestly blessed that I have never known that. The church has just always been beautiful to me. And so when I was 7 years old, I walked down to an altar and gave my life to Christ. And I've been loved unconditionally from my parents and raised in a godly home. Doesn't mean I didn't stray. Doesn't mean I didn't give up on him a time or two. In fact, I can remember one time, if I can be so bold as to say
Please.
this.
I mean, come in. You had breakfast with no clothes on, so that
Exactly. At least I'm telling y'all this story with a shirt on.
exactly.
Um, I had just suffered with probably my 3rd miscarriage, and it was a Sunday morning, and we were getting ready for church. And my husband was waiting on me to get out of the shower. He was still sitting in bed. I got out of the shower, I had a towel wrapped around my head, and I walked into the bedroom and I said, "Let's don't go. Let's don't serve him anymore."
Mm.
And he said, "What?" And I said, "I'm tired of it. I'm tired of serving a God who put me in a body that the world hates. I'm tired of serving a God who gave me dreams that he never planned on bringing to fruition. I'm tired of serving a God who gives me pregnancies only to yank them back, like pulling the rug out from under me. I'm tired of it. I don't even like him. Let's don't serve him anymore."
Wow.
And my husband sat there for a long time. And he just looked straight at me. And then he said this, and I will never forget him saying this. He said, "But he's all we know.
Mm.
He's all we know." And we didn't know how to do anything without him. We don't know how to do anything without him. I don't know how to be successful without him. And I don't know how to bury a baby without him. Everything I've ever done, I've done with with God beside me. I don't know any other way to live. So I tried to run away from him, but his love just always wooed me back.
Where do we go? And the word of life is with you. That's right. And my daughter did the same thing. She, a few months ago, she strayed from the law. Not strayed, but she gave up on Christianity because of the church. It was just, they were preaching a political thing that
Mhm.
and she said, I want nothing to do with Christianity. And then we prayed and fasted, and she goes, I have nowhere else to go. I don't know anybody else to go to. So,
Yeah.
uh, talk to me about the book, the latest book, and it's about your life growing up in the southern, you know, loud family, all that.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to tell you what. I don't know. You grew up in the Middle East, you said, right?
yeah, well, I was born in the Holy Land, and when I was 3 years old, I moved to Kuwait. I grew up in Kuwait until I was 19, and then went to Toledo, Ohio for college, and then came to California. So I've been here most of my life.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, I grew up in the Middle East where it's
Okay.
loud.
Well, it's no different than growing up in the South. We just do
No.
it with a lot more bacon and sour cream. I mean, it's really no different, I'm
Well,
sure.
yeah, we
Okay.
didn't have bacon. We had sour cream though. I didn't
Okay.
watch Charlotte Web till I came to the US. It was illegal.
Yeah, you watch you watch Charlotte's Web and you were like, "I am starving right now."
Oh, so that's
Um,
some pig.
yeah. Growing up in the South with my family has been quite the experience. I live on a big piece of land. And right over there across the pond is my cousin. And right over that way on top of the hill is my aunt. And right over there is another uncle and aunt. And this is how I grew up with family all around me. In fact, when David and I met in college and I brought him home to meet my family, he pulled onto our land and he said, "Is this a cult? Let me know." He goes, "I'm in love with you. I'm probably not going to go anywhere. I'll probably join, but I'd just at least like to know." And
What
it
a
kind
nice
of is like
husband.
that. Growing up in my family was a lot of fun. The women in my family specifically are very vocal, they're very outspoken. We grew up traveling in a pack. Let me give you an example to the women listening. The first time I ever had to go get fitted for a brassiere, all the women in my family went with me. And they made me come out of the dressing room and show them like I was trying on a pantsuit. Okay. And they would then give their opinions, like things like they would say things like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to take an eye out with that thing." I mean, that's exactly what it was like. And that's what it's like being raised in a Southern family. So yeah, this book is about that.
Mm,
This book is called Chicken Fried Women because one of the things that I have discovered about you women
mhm,
is that we're a lot like a piece of fried chicken. We may be battered on the outside. We may be hardened from the things that we've gone through. We may have been put in some really hot oil once or twice or 10 times in our life. But on the inside, we are tender. That
mm.
is who we are. Some of us are salty, some of us are spicy, but inside we are all tender. And that's what I feel about these women that I've grown up with that have loved me, preached to me, looked at me and said, "Hey, Cankle's running our family and you've got legs that you should wear a dress that short because your legs." I mean, these are the women that I have loved my whole life and they're my chicken fried women.
But isn't that a blessing to have that? I mean, when you think about today, where the families are so divided and kids are growing just watching their phones, and that's what a
It's
blessing.
rare.
Well, how can people get a hold of the book?
The book will be available April 22nd, but they can pre-order it now right there on Amazon. And then on April 22nd, wherever you buy books, that's where it will be. And, the book is funny. It's really funny. My first book, it was so exciting the day I got the call and and my publisher told me, "Hey, they've decided that this is going to go in the comedy section." That was like an honor for me,
The
even
first
though
book, the
the
first book.
first book, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of a memoir called Eat Cake Be Brave, it went in the comedy section and I was so excited about that. And this one I'm hoping will too because it's way funnier than the first one. You're going to have a great time reading this book and what I hope that it does is that it causes you to pause and think about the women in your life, the women that you've grown up with, the women that have made you for better or worse who you are,
Right.
because I do think we have lost a little bit of community in this day and age.
Right.
And there is nothing wrong with community. It's life giving. And so that's what I hope women find with this book. And I hope they enjoy it and laugh and laugh and laugh.
Let me ask you this, Melissa. When your first book went, bestseller,
Mhm.
how did that change your life?
It didn't change my life at all. If anything, it just solidified that I was where God wanted me to be. Not that I even needed a best-selling book to do that, but when you are putting your words out into the atmosphere, it's a nerve-wracking thing. In fact, there are some really in that first book, there are some really low moments in that book. I was talking about infertility and I was talking about some really broken dreams that I had in Nashville. There's actually a chapter in that book um, where I talk openly about the fact that one night, um, well, I'll tell you the story. Do I have time to tell you a little
You
story?
have all the time in the world.
Okay, I'm going to tell you
I
a little
can
story.
talk to you forever.
Okay, good. This is back Nazareth, back in the days of the reality show musical shows.
Mm,
American Idol was just coming out. Okay. There was this show, I'm showing my age here. There was this
mm.
show called Divas Live, and it was gonna be on VH1. Do you remember
Okay. I
VH1?
remember VH1, of
Oh, yeah.
course, of course.
Okay, and it was called Divas Live, and what you did was you went and auditioned for this to be on this show, and then they would narrow it down to, like, 20 girls, and then to 10, and then to 8, and then they would choose a winner, and you would get to perform on the stage on this concert called Divas Live, and it was with Celine and Whitney. They had gathered all of these divas for one concert on VH1, and the winner was gonna get to sing with them. So, I lived in Nashville. I drove to Atlanta. I drove 4 hours to Atlanta to
Right.
audition. I thought to myself, okay, if they don't like my body, maybe I can go be on this reality show and then it won't matter. Okay, so I get to Atlanta. I stand outside in a line with like 1,200 other women.
Mhm.
They usher us into this ballroom. We are sitting shoulder to shoulder to shoulder in this ballroom. Up at the front are three people, like three judges, like an American Idol kind of setup. There's a
Mhm.
woman on the outside, and she's the one that's always like, "Thank you so much, loved it." And then there's a woman on the other side, and she didn't say very much. She'd just be like, "Here's your ticket. You get to go on, whatever." And then there's this guy in the middle, and he never says a word, nothing. He never
Mm.
had anything good to say. He never had anything bad to say. Nothing. Every girl goes up there and she sings a cappella. So everybody is getting up to sing. It's my turn. I walk up there and I bust out. He's leaving on the midnight train to Georgia.
Wow.
Said he's going back to find, a simpler place in time. And I'll be with him. I sing this song.
Wow.
When I'm done, the guy in the middle stands up. He walks up to the stage. Nobody is moving because they've not seen him do anything. He walks to the stage. He puts his arm around me. And this is what he says. You want to be on my show? You better sing like this, but you better not look like this.
Ah.
Next. Next.
Oh my Lord.
And he just ushers me off the stage, and the next girl comes forward. You know how many women in that moment he dashed their dreams because they knew then doesn't matter what I sing like, it matters what I look like.
What was the drive like back home 4 hours for you?
I drove back. It's so funny that you say that. I drove back 4 hours. I never made a phone call. I never turned on the radio. I never played a song. I never spoke. I never cried. I never prayed. I drove back in complete and utter silence for 4 hours. I walked into my house. I got under the covers and I did not come out of the bed for 2 weeks.
Oh my Lord. Oh my
I did
Lord.
not bathe. I did not go to classes. I did not make dinner for my husband. I did not do anything. I was so depressed. And so on one particular night, my husband said, "You can't live like this." He drew me a bath. "You've got to get up. Your hair is greasy. Your face is breaking out. I love you. This is not healthy." He drew me a bath. I got in the bath and he said, "I'm going to go upstairs and work for a little while. You just relax." And that was the first time that I really heard a voice saying, "If you will just go under this water, you're not needed here." Don't you understand, Melissa? You're not needed here.
Mm,
Go under this water and don't come up. It'll be better for David. It'll be better for your family. This just didn't work out for you. This life just didn't work out for you, did it, Melissa? Why not? This is how you stop hurting. You just end it. And I wrote about that in my first book. Now, I don't live in that place today. I don't live in that space today at
mm,
all. But I was there at one point. And for anybody listening who is like, okay, well, then what happened? Then what happened? When you are in a moment like that, it doesn't matter what you learned in Sunday school. It doesn't matter what verse was on a plaque hanging in your kitchen. Your mind isn't there. You are literally hearing the enemy speak to you, and you can't really think of a lot of scripture, but there was only one thing I could think of to say, Nazareth, and it was Jesus. That was the only word
mm.
I could think of to say. And guess what? It's the only word I needed to say.
That's all.
Because the
Amen.
minute you say it, instantly he's there. Instantly he's there. And I just began to say, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And it got stronger and stronger until my toe reached down and tapped the drain and the water began to go out of the tub. And I knew in that moment, I would not take my life. I would live it.
Amen. And
And so your girl's been through some stuff. I guess that's what I wanted to say.
right. And
Let's turn this let's
and
turn
it's
this show
clear.
around.
It's clear. And so many women, so many young ladies I felt are feeling the same feelings when you were in that tub. Like maybe I should end it and everybody will be happy. But it's
Right.
not. It's not that way. It's just, there's a God in heaven. And look at Melissa, how God is just like, boom. She is
Mhm,
now blessing women. She's helping women and stuff. So I want to encourage you, if you ever feel that way, seek, of course, professional help, but
mhm.
also seek the Lord.
That's
Just say
right.
Jesus. Seek the Lord because He loves you and He loves you the way you are, the way you look. I mean,
That's right.
that's been my my daughters. I mean, my daughters. I love them. They love the way Sometimes they go, "I feel fat." No, you don't. My
Mhm.
wife, she's like, sometimes she goes, I gained weight, didn't I? I go, I don't notice because the minute I saw you, that's the image that's still in my head for the rest of our till death do us part. And I don't see any. And I always encourage my daughters. They're like, oh, I feel fat. I feel this. No, but
I
so
I have just I have just had to learn to say, "This is my body, and my body is good." If I truly believe that everything God makes is good, and I look at my children,
mm,
these children that I fought for, that I prayed for, that I fasted for, that came to me, both of them through adoption. Both of my children are adopted.
mm, mm,
If I look at them and I literally think to myself, man, everything God makes is so good. Man, everything he makes is good. But then I would turn around and look in the mirror and hate myself. That makes no sense.
that's
So if I
true.
truly believe that everything God makes is good, that everything he makes has a purpose and a plan for it, then I have to say, this is my body and my body is good. Through its symptoms, through its sickness, through whatever it is, this is my body and my body is good because God has called it that.
Amen. Amen. Melissa, I appreciate you taking the time to be with me. And I want to encourage every pastor, if you're doing a women's event, if you're
Yeah.
doing, youth event, girls events, daddy, daughter nights, this
Pick
is the
me.
one, this is the person to talk to. Melissa will be awesome to bring humor, to bring life, to bring experience into it. And I mean, you're gonna love that lady the minute you see her, the minute you talk to her. So
Oh,
it's gonna
thanks.
be a great night. So how can people get a hold of you to book you for their conferences and their churches?
They can go to melissaradke.com. I've got a website with everything I'm doing on it, and they can contact us there. My team would love to book me to come to your event. And, honestly, I'm not going to lie. People love me once they get to know me.
No, no, they do, and you're real, and that's the thing is that you are real. I'm gonna talk to my churches. the pastor's wife. I mean, they just did an event Flourish with 800 ladies, and
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I will talk to her. This week I'm going to say, hey Pam, can you check this? Can you check
Here's
this
the one
out?
thing I will say, women are full of so many you hear sometimes I'll hear women say, "Ugh, I'm not a guy. I'm more of a guy's girl because women just they're so full of drama." You know what else women are full of? Life, stories. Like